G'day, what's up? Welcome back to another episode of Cookie's Fishroom. Thanks again for joining me on the couch. And today I'm going to be talking to you about the top three things that we overdo in today's hobby with the aquariums. Now, before I continue, I just want to say a big shout out to Tiffany Underwood and her son for coming up with the winning name that Mason had chosen for the beta, and it is Optimus Prime. So Mason loves the name. It thinks the colors are well suited to OP, as I'll call him, because Optimus Prime seems to be too long to say every time. So OP will be joining me on the couch for most of our videos, and he says a big thank you and hello to the Underwood family for that. So thanks again. And thank you to all you guys who've subscribed to us at Cookie's Fishroom on YouTube and Instagram. Please don't forget to join us on Facebook if you haven't yet. And don't forget, we're here to help you. So put all the information that you need, all the questions that you have into a thread, and we will get to you as soon as we can. And if you need me personally, tag away and I'll get to you as soon as I'm available. Don't forget, I am working from Australian time, so a lot of our members are from overseas, and there is that time difference between me and you. So I'll do my very best to get to you when I can. Now, today's topic, over things we overdo in the aquarium. And there were top three things that I have seen in my experience with helping others in Facebook, in people who PM me questions, things I've seen on videos, things I've spoken to people about, and my own personal experiences. So let's get started with number three. So number three is lighting. We sometimes use way too much lighting. We overdo it big time. Now, half the time that is our, people have issues with algae, and that is our problem right there. So the overuse of lighting, too bright lights, too expensive, too much lighting will cause massive issues in an aquarium, more than you can really expect. So let's have a look at why we have this mindset. So usually, there is 24 hours a day, and generally people think, 12 hours light, 12 hours night, similar to what we have as humans, the fish probably need the same sort of thing. That is totally incorrect. So what you need to think about is why you have the type of light you have and how much of it you do need. So the number one thing you have to think about, in my opinion, are the fish. And do they need that amount of light? And there's only one time when you should be considering the amount of light in straight relation to fish is when you have fry. They need a minimum of 8 hours of light per day so their spines can come out straight and strong in future. So you don't end up with scoliosis and other deformations of the spine and then end up blaming inbreeding, as generally I see it happen all the time. So that's the number one thing to consider. Number two are your plants. Do you have real plants? Do you have fake plants? Is my planter tank a high-tech type of tank where you've got a lot of light-dependent plants, or is it a low-tech setup where you can use plants, lights that basically have the white LEDs, not the red, green, blue type, and just your bare minimum light setup? Now, you need to, with plants, the bare minimum you probably could get away with is 6 hours a day. And I would generally keep them on for a maximum of 8. Otherwise, you will be looking at algae issues. Hair algae, blackbeard algae, a lot of them are contributed to the amount of light that you have. And don't forget, if you have natural light coming in through a window and your tank is close to that window, you will be probably over, stimulating your plants with light. So that's one thing that you need to keep in mind. So that is number three. And if you are interested in knowing the differences between low-tech and high-tech plants, I recommend having a look at our our plant videos further down the list that we had done about 2 or 3 months ago. I think they're around number 17 or 18 episodes. So have a look at it, and if you like it, give us a thumbs up. Number two, the second most over thing that we do in our aquarium is clean. Now, I can't stress enough how important it is to make sure you don't overclean. The beneficial bacteria that we have in our tank is mostly of the time stored on surfaces of the aquarium, and more importantly inside our filter, whether it be a sponge filter or just an internal canister. So many times I have helped people with tank crashes and their parameters have gone out of whack after they've done a huge water change or they've replaced their filter pads. And yes, big, large water changes can crash your cycle, despite what people will argue with me about on a consistent basis. And I just don't understand how they don't see it won't crash your cycle. If you take enough water out of that tank, it will take time to refill that, the tank. People will clean the surfaces, etc. You are wiping off beneficial bacteria. That bacteria needs that filter, that air stone. It needs water to be alive and the correct temperature. So if you remove all those important parameters away from it, you are causing an issue. You will crash your cycle. So don't forget that large water changes should only be done in situations where you basically an emergency, where you've dropped something inside the tank, your ammonia readings are too high, you have too high nitrates. So large water changes should be restricted to emergencies only, and don't make it a regular thing. Regular small water changes are much better for your tank, even if you want to do 10% every day, every 2 days. Personally, I'll do 20 to 30% on the weekend, and midweek maybe another 20%. So I'm breaking it up into 2 water changes, only because I'm having issues with algae myself at the same time, and that will basically drop my nutrients and hopefully get rid of my algae. Otherwise, once a week is what I would prefer to do. Now, I will call this person Mr. X, who I just helped recently, where he made the mistake of overcleaning, pulled out his filter pads, and he washed it under the tap water and put it back into his tank. And look, there's nothing wrong with wanting a nice clean tank. I'm not saying to keep your tank messy and grotty all the time. You can keep a nice clean tank without overcleaning. And he made that mistake, and now he's having to do a fish in cycle from scratch. Do not wash your filter media under fresh water. The water that you remove from your tank, or it falls out of the canister filters, whatever it is, that is what you wash your filter pads in. If you have multiple pads or multiple cartridges, or if you're using a large canister filter external where it's got the layers, don't replace all, because sometimes you do have to replace the pads. Do not replace them all at the same time. 1 per water change, so that way your canister, your tank can handle the bio load that's in it still. If you do replace your filters, or if you do have to replace one, also remember to dose your beneficial bacteria in there a little bit extra so you don't crash your cycle. Again, I recommend Nutrafin Cycle, the best beneficial bacteria out there. You will find that out for yourself if you try it. This is coming from experience. I'm not getting any kickbacks from them, so do try it and you'll see for yourself. So that's number 2. And the number 1 issue with overdoing is feeding. Now, I am guilty of this myself. When I first started out, walking past your tank, my guppies will rush to the side where I'm standing and say, hey, feed me. They have those big puppy dog eyes. They make you feel guilty, and they all hit the surface like they haven't eaten for a month. And as anybody with a heart will do, they'll grab the fish food and go, here you go, here's a little bit. They're not like us. They don't need 3 meals a day. 1 meal a day is plenty. Personally, I split it up into 2, a little bit in the morning, a little bit at night. I change the type of foods between morning and night. So 1 in the morning, I will give sinking pellets or the flakes that I use in the morning, and in the evening, I will use the opposite to what I use in the morning. It is important to give them different food that, that's interesting, that tastes good, that is really high in protein, minerals, and vitamins to keep their immune systems up, keep them healthy, and keep their colors bright. So don't make the mistakes of feeding them too often. You will experience high nitrates, high ammonia. No need to say how much they will poop. The leftover foods will create an issue in the tank. You will have an overpopulation, stimulation of snails possibly. There will be heaps of issues. So overfeeding is the number one issue, I believe, what we do with the aquariums at the moment. And one thing to consider is if you overfeed, more than likely you will have bloating issues that will lead to two things, dropsy and swim bladder disease. Now, those two things are often caused by overfeeding. So if you want to avoid this sort of disease in your tank, please don't overfeed your fish. They don't need to even eat every day. They can be fed every second day. But if you are going to feed every day, and if you are going to feed twice a day like myself, small amounts is plenty. They will not starve, they will not lose weight, they will not die. Bear in mind, the more you feed, the more maintenance you're going to have to do on the tank, the more products you'll be using, the more additives you'll be putting into the tank, and the more expensive it will be also. So don't forget, do not overfeed them. They're trying to play with your emotions, and then the minute you feed them, they're like, bam, gotcha. So don't be gotten by them. Make sure you don't overfeed, and you'll have a healthier tank and even healthier fish for it. So don't forget. Now, that will cover the top 3 for this week. I will be back next week with another video. Thank you so much for joining me on the couch and joining Optimus Prime here, who's happy to have a name finally. Thank you again to the Underwood family. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Thank you once again for joining me on the couch for Cookie's Fish Room. Have a great day wherever you are in this world, and please stay healthy. Bye for now.